Hello and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Well, about 4 minutes after the hour. I wanted to start right at the top of the hour, but I was looking at these Major League Baseball highlights on ESPN, the ones that they show. They used to show them for every game, but now they don't, a recap. So then later on, I'll look at the ones on MLB.com. The Major League Baseball website is much better, more extensive recap, but they're a lot longer to watch. It takes twice as long. Anyway, this morning, you can see the dawn arriving here and a cold front. That's why I got the window shut, because it'll be a little chilly wind and it'll knock all these cans over. The north wind knocks them over. This morning we have Heaven Hill Kentucky blended whiskey. I think this was introduced in 1934. It's one of these old brands. They also make bourbon. They make a black label bourbon, a green label bourbon, I think a bonded bourbon, a whole bunch of stuff. I bought this bottle. I think it was $5.99. No, I'll retract that. I think it was $8.99 at Mathern's. Although I noticed at Racetrack, the same size bottle is $6.19. So I didn't realize that when I bought it. 80-20 blend, okay. 80% grain neutral spirits, 20% straight whiskey, aged 36 months. That's the straight whiskey, aged 36 months. Grain neutral spirits aren't aged. That's why they are grain neutral spirits. And they use sour mash whiskey in this, okay? So I think it's going to give it a little different taste than what I'm going up against. By the way, it's very popular in Louisiana. Who buys it? I don't know who buys it. I don't do I don't do studies on it. I just see it everywhere. In every sort of bottle size you ever wanted to see. And at every store, really. Big handle bottles down to the little 100 milliliter tiny bottles. So Heaven Hill is big around here. No bourbon, no Heaven Hill bourbon. Why they don't sell the bourbon here, I can't tell you. And they also sell their 100 Piper Scotch here, Heaven Hill. And a bunch of other stuff like Evan Williams, which is Heaven Hill. And we're going up against Royale Club blended whiskey from Sazerac, Bardstown, Kentucky, and Los Angeles, California. That's why it just says blended whiskey. And this one says Kentucky whiskey because it is all from Kentucky. It's distilled in Kentucky, aged and bottled there. Okay, so that's a label must give the place where it's made. Okay, that is required. But the place of origin can be part of the name. So if it says Heaven Hill Kentucky whiskey, that means it's from Kentucky. All right. If they say American whiskey, you can bet it ain't from Kentucky, because they would try to tout that. It's like, oh yeah, Kentucky whiskey, the famous whiskey state. So if it's bottled in Florida, for instance, they'll say American whiskey or just blended whiskey. And then below, like on this one, and then below they'll give you the city or the state. Okay, that's how that works. How do I know that? Because I read the law. Well, I should say I read the regulation, which are made under the umbrella of the law. In other words, the law lets the U.S. government regulate it, and then they can make or change or adjust the regulations over time. Okay. So it's a regulation allowed by the law. In other words, okay. RC. When did Royale Club hit the market? This I don't know. was it 80 something years ago, like with the Heaven Hill, 70 years ago, 60 years ago, 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't know. It may be something new. It doesn't seem to be the case, though. Let me make sure I got this. I mean, because when you look at the label, it doesn't look like something from 2008, does it? It looks like something from 1968, maybe. So that's making me think it's one of these old brands that's been lingering around for a long time, probably as long as I've been alive. And that's what I mean, lingering around and lurking around. Because you might say, I never saw a television, radio, or print ad for Royale Club, and you never will. Now you might say to yourself, I think I saw that at some old corner liquor store in Compton, California in 1991, though. That would be more likely. You're not going to see print ads for this or radio or television, but you might see point of sale somewhere, you know what I mean? And it says right on the back, Heaven Hill's #1 Kentucky blended whiskey. So this is their best, like they're bragging on. This is their best selling blended whiskey. And they got a lot of them. Now, if you look on their website, there's nothing about it, any of the blended whiskeys, but there's a section on the website called production, product information. I think it's called product information. And if you click on that, it'll let you choose, you could say gin, and then it'll list all the brands. And if you click there, it'll tell you what bottle sizes and proofs it's available in. Now, if you just, and you can do that with this, you can click blended whiskey and it'll give you all kind of brands. But there's more than those that they list, because if you just click blended whiskey and then it'll give you brands, you click below, there's a section called just blended whiskey. Click that and it'll give you all the other brands. Same thing with gin. You click gin, it'll list all these gins, some expensive, some mid-price, some cheapos. But if you just click gin, then it'll list all the rest. These weird brands that you might see hanging around somewhere. I mean, it's bizarre. So they make a lot of stuff. And I saw a video for Heaven Hill where they had this guy giving a tour in there. It was a European, I think it was the people that do whiskey.com, and it was a European German guy, and they were taking, it was an hour-long tour. They took him all around the distillery, and then they were in the barrel house. Or I should say one of the barrel houses. And they were talking about how they determine what they do with all their barrels, single malt, everything. And he said, well, what about, because the guy was saying, well, sometimes it doesn't come out quite right. Like it might be too hot or too dull or too whatever. And he said, well, what do you do with those? And then the tour guide, who is the brand director, he said, he started laughing. Well, we use those in our blended whiskeys. Ha, 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 ha. And he seemed to want to get off that subject quickly. And the man making the video or hosting it, he didn't seem to be interested in pursuing that. So it's funny that he gave that embarrassed laugh, because the blended whiskey is a big part of their portfolio. So a lot of their money comes from that. But that's telling you that it's like low grade product that they're not proud of, but they are going to make it because there is big money in it. Okay, but anyway, you know, it exists, so I'm looking at it. Okay, Royale Club. Now, on the other hand, I need to put a little bit more because it's not even and it'll throw me off. Just that little bit of volume. it does change the weight, and it's a tip off. I know I won't have enough to go through all the rest of the blends, but that's okay. I think I'll survive not having Royale Club. The appearance is the same, gold, amber. Now, one interesting thing though, if as a counterpoint, if you look on Beam Suntory, that's a strange company because Beam Suntory's got like probably at least a dozen blended whiskeys. Some they sold off. Same thing that Constellation Brands did. But they don't talk about them. Like Beam's 8-star, they don't even list it on their website. Strange. They used to, they don't anymore. The only ones they list is Kessler, which they say is the second best-selling blended whiskey in America, which second to Seagram 7. And there's one other I think they list. But they prefer not to talk about the others for whatever reason. But then if you go to Sazerac, another one of the big companies, right? And it's the same thing with Diageo. They'll talk about Seagram 7, and they make a lot of other ones, but they don't. They're just like, okay. But Sazerac, they like tout it. They like have a whole section, blended whiskey, and then they have this big write-up about, oh, all of our blended whiskeys and all of this stuff, and you know, basically saying it's so wonderful, and it's good for the price-conscious consumer or something like that. And then they list them all. They don't have a write-up on all of them. Well, they don't list them all. They list many of them. But they don't try to hide it, you know what I mean? Like try to run from it. They're just saying, here's what we make, or a lot of what we make. If you don't like it, don't drink it, basically is what they're saying. I mean, and they do the same thing with their vodka. They have all these rich, expensive vodkas, and they'll have big write-ups. They might have a Facebook page for it, might even have its own website. Oh, yes. And then they'll have Crown Rust vodka. And they're like, yeah, we make this too. Okay, moving on. But they don't try to, you know, hide from it. And then they have Taka, you know. Strange they don't talk about the Taka 100 proof vodka. But anyway, Sazerac seems to be a little bit more open. And I'd love to go. And their tours are really good too, by the way. They're free. And they're opening up a Sazerac Experience Museum in New Orleans next year. Free. Everything they do is free. I mean, they don't sell free, you know, you have to buy their liquor, but they have free. So the Sazerac Experience, I'll be curious to see about that because I got a lot of questions. John and Neely said, good morning, Ron. Good morning, John. It was fun last night. Greg says, we did the, what whiskey did we do last night? Oh, yeah, Canadian Leaf. Greg Baye says, have not sampled these two. Oh, they're lurking around. Kyler Swatsky, good morning from Pennsylvania. Good morning back to you. Jacob Miller said, I tried Oscar Blues Fougli a few days ago. Most unique IPA I've ever tasted. That is probably due to the Jamaican and Japanese citrus fruits. Yes, I was very pleased with it. I was expecting not to like it, but I did like it, I had to admit. John and Neely said, I'd like to try Kessler. It's weird, though. It's hard to come by around here. As a big of a seller it is, you'd think it would be everywhere. It's quasi-common here, more common in Baton Rouge than New Orleans area. There is a locator tool on the Beam Suntory website, so you might want to use that. That might help you find it. I've never tried it, but I got a tiny bottle of it. Okay, on with the test, because I want to start cleaning the house in 12 minutes. Or I should say finish cleaning the house. Oh, well, like Michael Comerall said last night, smells like alcohol. He actually liked the Philadelphia brand, though. He said it tastes good, but it does smell like straight grain alcohol with some wood. That's what it smells like. Same, but with sourdough bread. Okay, that makes me think this is a Heaven Hill, which got sourdough. Sour mash whiskey. Yep. Nope. So on aroma only, and you got to be very careful about that. But on aroma only, I think that's Royale Club, and that's Heaven Hill. We got another blended one coming up, and whenever it comes up, called T.W. Samuels, very popular in the Baton Rouge area of Louisiana. Which I think is the oldest blended whiskey on the market. Back to 1844, no joke, like literally been on the market since 1844, because that's when the trademark was acquired in 1844, T.W. Samuels. And their ancestors, their descendants, I should say, his descendants started Four Roses bourbon in the 1940s. Yeah, so T.W. Samuels is a very important whiskey brand. I didn't say it was very good. I just say it was important. Taste. You know, wood, the flavor generally associated with whiskey as the U.S. government requires, not suggests, it's actually required that whiskey has to taste like the flavor generally associated with whiskey. Oh yeah. There's some wood, and like I said, and also there's some peppery spice. So I'm thinking Sazerac, because they're known for their little rye thing. Okay. All right. Okay. There's a little more sugar here on the right side. And there might be sourdough bread, which is making me think Heaven Hill. Okay. Now, James P. Madonna gets the Heaven Hill Green Label and Black Label bourbon. He's very pleased with those because they're inexpensive, and he said they taste good. I don't know what he'd think about this blended whiskey. Well, he might like it. Gregory said, I know it in Scotland, it's basically like a huge distilling cooperative sort of deal. I wonder if it's like that in the States, whereby the distillers help each other out, sort of like bookies taking each other's action. This I don't know. I don't even know if that's allowed because of these laws against collusion. But it might be. We got these antitrust laws over here that really make a problem. They're supposedly designed to protect the consumer, but really in reality, but this is the truth, they're really designed to protect monopolies. You say, what? An anti-monopoly law designed to protect big companies? And see, that's a better way to pass the law. Say that it's done to protect the consumer, but it's done to protect entrenched companies and to destroy competition or to prevent competition. Well, we don't want to get into that. There's a lot of good information about that. I think the Royale Club has more of an alcohol burn. It's more of a flavor of corn distillate, straight grain alcohol. Now you might say that doesn't sound so pleasant. It isn't really. You know, they're talking about a superior blend of whiskeys and all of this stuff, a guarantee of great quality and all of that. Having a special quality of its own together to achieve a harmonious marriage of these qualities. It is aged at least 4 years, whereas the Heaven Hill's only 3 years, 36 months. But they write this stuff. It's, you know, it's they sell it with a straight face, but you know they don't. You know what they're putting that in a corner liquor store for old bums to drink, honestly. But they're not going to say that. They're going to say, "Oh yes, the harmonious blend of," you know, make it sound like it's some wonderful thing where everybody knows it's not. But you know, you paid $5.99 a bottle because you thought it was like gourmet, right? Sure, that's why it's $5.99, because it's ultra gourmet. Okay. The one on the right seems to have a richer flavor, a better flavor. It's not great, you know, but it's okay. It's a little better than the one on the left. Well, I'm going to say, well, I'm going to feel embarrassed if I get it wrong, you know. I'm talking all this trash talk. He says, good point. Oh, yeah, about the laws. Yeah, those laws are, got to watch it. The government likes to do these bait and switch things, or these, they like to frame things in a way that you'll buy it, you see. And people are kind of dumb, so they'll buy it, you know. Like, we're going after the big companies. People say, right on, power to the people, right on. When they're actually protecting the big companies. It's because you got a bunch of rich people telling you how they're going to fight the rich, you know. We're going after the rich, man. Right on, brother. It's like, wake up, fool. But that sells a lot better than saying we're going to do something that's going to protect the rich guys and make it harder for other people to break into the business. You know, that wouldn't really go over too well. Okay. When will this misery and this torment end? I don't know. I got to get off of this now and go clean, because I got a lot of thinking to do. I got a lot of things to work out in my head now. Starting to question the whole concept, you know, the taste challenges, because I mean, I don't know. I just can't. It's a mystery to me. It's like watching LSU football. Anytime you think you understand it, then you don't. And you're just staring at the TV saying, I just don't get it. Like I was at the Troy game, you know, Troy University at LSU last year, and you don't understand it. All right, that's Royale Club, and that's Heaven Hill, and I totally said the opposite of what I was expecting. So there you go. So should you watch my videos to trust a taste challenge in what I'm saying? I wouldn't watch my videos to trust what to drink. No way. Of course, you could point out that these things are so similar that it could really be tricky. I guess I could say that. I could say, well, maybe it's just that they're so similar that it's like walking in a minefield. You really got to watch it. And another point to bring up is I don't see a whole lot of other people doing blind taste tests with these kind of items. In fact, I don't see anybody doing it. You want to know the truth? Like, who else is doing it on YouTube? Let me know. I'd like to watch them. Well, I'd probably listen to it more than watch it. I don't need to look at somebody do it, but it's like a radio show, you know, you listen to it. I don't know. Well, that was a pathetic failure, a monstrous, colossal failure. But at least we proved that if you try two really cheap whiskeys that you can not not really tell them apart. And sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't. It's a 50-50 shot anyway. So what does it prove? Not a lot. I don't think I can tell the difference in most of these things, says Gregory. Yeah, I don't know. I feel embarrassed though, because I was like really touting one, saying, oh, sourdough, sourdough bread and all of this. Oh yeah, great. Couldn't even get it right. Well, hey, you know what? Royale Club won. It won. It won. Can you believe this? I can't believe it. All right. Woo. Now I'm really scared because I have another taste challenging coming up. It's like, good thing the whiskey didn't affect you, huh? I got another taste challenging coming up at 3:30 Central Time with Seagram 7, the #1 selling blended whiskey in America, against Royale Club. Now, if Royale Club beats that, I'm going to really question everything. But I'm going to be open-minded. I'm going to give it a fair contest. I don't have, no matter what people think. Now, some people think you got favorites, you play favorites. Well, you could think that. I don't, okay? Especially with beer, like, oh, you play favorites, you play favorites. Well, if you think I play favorites, that's fine. Go ahead and think that. I don't care. I'm telling you, I don't play favorites. Macro, micro, middle crow. I don't work for these companies. I just taste the stuff and tell you what I think about it. Now, that's it. You say, yeah, but Blue Moon sent you a shirt. Okay. I still don't think it's that great. They sent me a shirt after I had said it was average in the video. Well, maybe they didn't watch the video, or maybe they just liked the fact that I was giving them a fair assessment. My daughter gave it an A. So, I mean, like somebody said with craft beer, we're winning. We're winning. I said, winning what? Like, this is a guy that does written. He used to do videos, but he didn't really keep that up. I said, well, what are you winning? You don't work for a craft beer company. So that's my question. Winning what? If you look at drinking alcohol as some kind of culture conf, I can understand why you'd be really angry about certain brands and excited about others. But I don't approach it as a culture conf with all this Sturm and Throng. I just approach it as something to drink. No. You say, well, that's not erudite. You're not absorbed in the drink and the whole conceptuality of alcohol and all the important aspects of it. Yeah, I know, because like I just said, I'm just drinking it and tasting it. I'm not part of that whole experiential overarching social struggle with it. I mean, I'm sorry, I never was. I like to drink them. I like to study the brands, but that's about as far as it goes. It ain't really that deep with me. Thanks for watching this video production.